Okay, welcome into our next skill. We're going to be looking at cash application. This is matching our bank records to our open invoices. This is something that we hear from customers every day. It's a huge pain. There are dependencies downstream. We need to run reporting. We need to get back to customers. We have to send them dunning letters. And it all comes down to cash application. And businesses today spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, no joke, hundreds of thousands of dollars on these cash application platforms, these SaaS tools, these software as a service tools. And we're about to show you how you can put $100,000 or more back into the company's pocket. Tell your boss, right? Make sure that you capture some of that for yourself, because this is, like we talk about, become indispensable, upskill, take advantage of this new technology. These cash application processes are perfect for AI skills, and we're going to show you how to build them. You're going to save your company time, save yourself time, and you probably save your company a lot of money too. So we've had a project right here for cash application, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to pull in a prompt to build a skill. This is a prompt that we wrote. We're going to walk through what it means, and we're going to dump it into the skills. And what we have here is a skill prompt that we're about to feed into our AI tool. We're using Claude here. And this is a skill that if you want to go to Daylit's website, you can download this prompt. We're also going to have a skill file for download. But we're going to go through the prompt because every business is a little bit different. When you build your skill, you want it to match your business. And so we're going to start, again, we have a prompt here, and this prompt is to develop a skill. That skill is going to be a reusable recipe every time we need to do cash application, bank reconciliation. Instead of doing it manually, we're going to call this skill. So let's take a look. And we're going to generate this skill file called the bank reconciliation matcher. We're going to use this 4D prompt engineering brief. So this is just like a standard way to build these skills. We're going to go through all of the Ds. You'll see they kind of bounce around, but the four we'll touch. And so deconstruct, we're going to tell Claude what is a skill and what's not. So these are the core jobs to be done, the key input files, any sort of operations that or assumptions that we're operating under. We can see right here, we're assuming that we use QuickBooks Online. Now, you might use NetSuite or SAP or a different ERP. That's okay. The skill will adapt to your system. And so you just want to let the skill writer know which ERP you're using. Now, we want to be explicit on what is not in scope. So we're not posting payments to QuickBooks. We're not approving or rejecting. We're not contacting customers. Again, this is to be overly explicit. We don't have to really worry about it, but we want to let the skill know, stay in your lane, don't bounce around. And so it's good to include these explicit, not in scope. Now, that was deconstruct. We're going to deconstruct again in a second, but now we're going to diagnose. This is a great chance to fill in some of the gaps. Best practice is to give the skill some examples. So we can see right here, we have ACH deposits, we have international wires, we have wire transfers, some cash concentration, trade payments. We're loading in examples from our actual bank statement. This is a great way, again, to help the skill get better. In a later course, we're going to talk about how to improve our skills over time by storing results in the memory, so that if there are kind of tricky matchings, we don't want to have to go and do the same thing over and over. We can store it in memory, but for now, we're going to just build it for one. We're putting all of this context in. Now, we can see here there are human judgment touch points. Maybe you have an SOP or some form of rulebook around your judgment versus what is automated. We're going to pull in just best practices here. Maybe you have, instead of 1,000 invoices, you have tens of thousands of invoices in a small team. Maybe tier 1 through 4, you want to automatically match. What we've seen is tier 1 and 2 is auto, and then the rest we want to route into a second tab for manual overview. Again, we're going to come along with these 4Ds, develop. So we're now giving the skill a persona. This is actually really cool. So we're going to basically tell, in this case, Claude, here's who we want you to pretend to be. Do all of the work and get all of the research and context around, if I was this senior, really talented AR reconciliation analyst for B2B transactions, like, what would you need to know? What would you think? How would you want to operate? We can tell the skill that, and it's really powerful. it's going to think like us, and it's going to do, again, not everything, but the mundane stuff. We're going to have the skill just kind of soup it up. We're then walking through some of the steps. You can read all of this on the website when you download the skill. We're just going through, again, rules around bank fee deductions, duplicates, parsing the invoice register. I'm just going through very quickly, but these are all really important items that you can use our prompt, or you can go and pull in your own SOP. A lot of work goes into building this prompt, and you want to make sure that it matches your business as much as possible. So we're defining the different tiers. We have probable match, we have combined match, partial payments. This is a huge one in bank reconciliation. So we want to show the skill where to put it, any sort of conditions. We have some concrete examples. Overpayment, we much prefer that compared to partial payment, but they do happen. And so again, we want to let the skill know. And then we're just doing this final output, which we'll see right here, delivery. So this is the last D, is the delivery. So we're going to deconstruct the problem. We're going to walk through, and we're going to diagnose some of the issues. We're going to develop our strategy. And then most importantly, number 4, we're going to deliver, right? We're going to tell the skill what we want. And what we want in this case is an Excel file that can help us do the matching, the last mile, and then load it in to a tab that we can just upload to QuickBooks. All of this work that used to take hours upon hours, it's one skill. We're going to put a bank file in, we're going to put an open invoice list in, and then we're going to give it to the skill. The skill is going to do its magic, and then it's going to come back with this Excel sheet that's going to help us finish the process by making it really easy to upload. I'd encourage you, before you're going in and just dumping this, just reading through, make sure that if there are any details, payment date, the data related to the invoice amount, multi-invoice, any nuances you really want to load in. And then we're going to click Let's Go. I like to select, this is Opus 7, which is the premier model, especially when we're building skills. We're going to click Let's Go. I'm going to do a quick pause, and the skill is going to do its thing. So on the other side of this video, we're going to have our first skill file of the lesson. Okay, so good news. We have a skill. So let's take a look. Now, just for reference, this skill took about 3 or 4 minutes to generate. So if you are running into issues, if you're not seeing a skill right away, go grab a cup of coffee and come back, and the skill will be ready. We can take a quick look at it. Again, this is the bank reconciliation matcher, and it's a skill, which means every time we go and upload a bank statement and we upload an invoice, open invoice file, it's going to read the skill, and it's going to output this Excel file, which will have many of the invoices auto-matched and some of them that need final mile. It will put it in a really nice format that we can just upload into QuickBooks. So reconciliation, we have a philosophy. We describe the output. We have the first tab, and it's doing all of this payer name, extraction, reference logic. Again, what's great about AI, these LLMs, is they're using natural language to try and match some really, let's call it, quirky line items maybe on our bank statement with payer information on our open invoice. Pan Asia Leather Corp is here, same right here, but we can also reference these credit memos. We can reference some more complex examples, and we'll see how it works in production. But this is basically what these really expensive high radius softwares are doing. They're just doing this matching, and these LLMs, I can promise you, are just as good, if not better, than the high radiuses of the world, and they're free, right? Or they're not free, but they're very accessible. And so it's really exciting to be in AR at this time. If you need to edit the skill, you can go directly into the chat. I could say, hey, I'd prefer a third tab with a summary. I'm not going to actually press send, but you can give some instructions and then please update the skill. And actually it will go in and it will read this bank reconciliation matcher, and it will update the skill. If there's something in here that you didn't like, or if we're running the process and we see something that we missed, we can update the skill right here. And anytime we go and call this, that skill will be updated. So that's a little bit more about the skill. Now it's time to put that skill to work. And so I'm going to press pause. I'm going to go pull in the data, the bank statement, and the open invoice statement. They're going to be CSV format. and I'll describe them in just a second. And we're gonna actually run the skill in production here in just a second. So let me just go and grab them. Okay, very exciting. So we now have loaded into our cash application project. We have our bank statement. We have our open invoice register as of March 2026. We have our bank statement as of March 2026. And we are going to please use the bank reconciliation matcher. By the way, spelling amazingly doesn't matter. So please use the bank reconciliation matcher and skill and help me close out March. So it's going to get started. It is now going to call our skill. It's going to pull in the data from the bank file. It's going to pull in the data from the open invoice register, and it is going to run the skill. It's going to go through all of the rules that we just outlined over the first part of this session, and it's going to create this Excel file. Now, it's possible that your skill doesn't show up when you run, and so I'm just going to do a quick troubleshoot in the event that if your skill doesn't run. So here's how you'll know. Well, we'll come in here, and in this case, I tried to run the skill, and it's actually saying I don't see a bank reconciliation matcher skill, and there's this collection strategy skill. So you want to make sure that you're calling the right skill. Now, how do I know if I have the right skill? Well, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go to Customize. I'm going to click on Skills, and I'm going to see all of my different skills here. If you don't see your bank reconciliation matcher skill, you want to come in, you want to click Add right here, create a skill, and upload a skill. Now, the way you'll upload that skill is first by downloading the skill. So we can see right here, we have this skill, and we can show it in a folder, and we'll see right here, skill.md. If your skill doesn't show up, not to worry. Sometimes things move really quickly. If they don't, for whatever reason, show up in your project, you want to click on Show in Folder, you want to download it, you want to come over to Customize, you want to go to Skill, you want to click Add, create skill, and upload that skill. This is a really important part. We have to make sure that we're actually calling the skill, and we're going to come into the project. We're going to click here, and we're going to try again. Please run the bank reconciliation matcher skill with the attached open invoice and bank data. Click Let's Go. And so we're going to click here, and it's working on it. It's running the skill. And we can see right here, it's running that bank reconciliation matcher skill, and we're now off to the races. Okay, wow. About 8 or 9 minutes later, we have our first output from the skill. It's already super cool. So let's take a look. So again, what we did, just to recap, we took all of our bank statement data, we took all of our open invoices, and we created a skill that would try to match the open invoices to the bank records. And then for the ones that were tier 3, 4, 5, 6, create this override and review tab to make it a lot easier. It's going to guess to see if those are right. And so let's take a look. Well, we have some obvious ones right here. Vin is matching. And again, look at how cool this is. We see Varkin right here. Let's see if there's a great example. Right here, we have Industria, Crooning. Again, these are complex. K&R Industrial. It's not a direct match, but it's pretty close. Longshan Train, so we know that despite all this sort of messiness, we can match to see if the customer name is right. And so these can go directly into QuickBooks. But of course, we know it's not that easy, and there's going to be some that we need to override. So we're going to come in here and take a look, and we can see some of these are pending. And so we'll take a look at Mohawk Valley Chemical. Now, we saw here 2 invoices on the exact same day for the same amount. And so we've flagged this as a potential duplicate. Again, this is something that maybe the high radiuses of the world are doing, but imagine if those 2 records weren't right next to each other on a bank statement. We might accidentally post a duplicate instead of letting our valuable customer know, hey, you've double paid us and we have a credit for you. Here's another one. We see there's a credit memo. This was flagged as a memo. It was never auto-confirmed regardless of amount. Human must classify. So we're catching things like potential credit memos. We have these probable matches, okay? We got this deposit, no payer, but we have the right amount, okay? And so we're assuming this is Hadlin Sons Refrigeration. Again, Baylor Payments. This is coming in as a Baylor Foods invoice. It's the same amount. And so even though it's pending, we're pretty sure we're just going to have a human look at it, but we're pretty sure that's correct. Continuing with this, we see these are super cool. These are what we're calling combined matches. So we see Pan Asia Leather, they paid us $98,000 on March. Look, we see invoice 8237 and 8304, which add up to $98,450. And so we've figured out, the agent has figured out that this is probably a combined match, and we have to apply payment for both those open invoices, 8237 and 8304. Same can be said on these other invoices. And so again, what would have taken probably hours, maybe all day to go through, or maybe we're saving all of this for one day on the month because we have a bunch of other stuff, we can now do it in 5-10 minutes. And that's all just from this repeatable skill that we can go back to the same time every single day. In a perfect world, we would put in one skill and one prompt to create one skill, and everything comes out perfect. These processes, systems have been built for these that take months or years or decades to build. And so we can't expect to replace it all with just one skill, but we can improve that skill with each time. And so this is where, you as an operator, you as a finance and accounting professional can really shine. This is your chance, again, mind in hand, to dive in and improve the skill on your own. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to improve this skill. You probably have a million ideas on how to improve this skill, and I want you to put them into action. Okay, now we saw some great work in the Excel file, but I think there was something that we can improve on. In that second tab, we saw these different tiers. We saw probable matches, we saw duplicates, we saw partial payments, and all of those required some status. So right now what we have to do with our skill is we have to update that status, and we would have to copy paste and move it over all into that first tab to then upload it to QuickBooks. But I want to see if we can improve our skill so that every time we download, we can have a selector for the status. And then once we've selected that status is complete, it automatically moves it over to that first tab, so we can just download that and make it really easy to upload into our ERP. I like to do it directly in the console right here and improve the workbook. And then I'm going to show you how to come in and, if we like the output, save it to the skill. So we're going to say on the second, as a user, I want to be able to select the status from a drop-down, completed, review, etc. And when the status is marked as complete, I want the record to automatically pull into the first tab, which shows it, which is ready to upload into my ERP. Please changes to the Excel workbook attached above. Okay, and so this is like very simple. I'm just telling, in this case, Claude, this isn't a skill, my Excel book. And again, you probably have a million ways that you can think about to improve this Excel book. You can come up with different formulas or different rules, or maybe there are different tabs. Hey, I only want to show probable matches on tab 2, and then tab 3 I want to show as partial pay and overpays. However your business works, or however you think the system needs to be designed, you can build it into this skill. You can include it in that original prompt and try it this way, or you can spit out your basic prompt, your basic skill, and then improve the skill iteratively. Now, I want to show you, before we dive into the workbook, what brought us here. Again, we have our skill, it output this Excel. It's a great Excel. That Excel is going to help us, but the real value here is being able to iterate with AI to improve our product and have the patience to go back and forth. So I want to show you what was happening behind the scenes. And so again, we asked to have this second tab where once we mark something as complete, it automatically goes over, so we don't have to copy and paste. And we don't want to have to build in Excel, do the actual formula building and dragging. Now, you can see right here, we created this workbook, and what happened was there was an issue. It needed to be troubleshooted because the record wasn't moving over. Also, it created this promoted from section in our first tab, which would have been a problem because when we go and upload that data into the ERP, we want like a nice clean table and not some split table. And so as you'll see right here, I asked Claude in this case, again, I'm not editing the skill, I'm just talking in the console, to take a look, troubleshoot it, and then remove the tab. And here you go. You can see it caught the issue, and then it went through this very detailed, it probably took like 15 minutes, detailed process to update and resolve and then remove this promoted from tab. And so let's take a look at the results. We come right back here. And again, we have our first tab. Okay, all these records perfectly match. We have our second tab. There are potential issues, some probable matches, some combined matches, but check this out. So I can come in here, I can take this Haddle and Son refrigeration, mark it as complete, boom. I come in here and this can now be uploaded directly into my ERP. All it took was just a couple of seconds. And so again, this is the power of building with these skills. We can have this repeatable process and we can describe in very simple language what we want and build what actually is a very complex, in this case, Excel workbook that can make our job so much easier. I want you to imagine on a daily basis, you're doing bank reconciliation. Instead of having to go through a complex software, one by one, go and review records, look at bank statements, look at invoices, look at all this data. We can now have this AI skill do 80% of the work for us, and the last mile, the stuff that we think we're right, but we just need to know for sure. A human can come in, the market is completed, and now we have this beautiful payments to post file. We can just download this and upload it straight into our ERP. This is the power of this skill. Now, again, there's probably so much more that we can do. We have these combined matches. Maybe we need a separate status here that just shows what to do with combined. We can say approve these combined, and maybe it's smart enough to post both payments. For partial matches, maybe we want to post those payments too. In fact, we can test it right now. So we're going to say, hey, it looks like Nearpath has an invoice of 21,000, but they're only paying us 19. So okay, perfect. We have this invoice amount, we have the payment amount, we have this reference number, and again, this is going to be posted. We'll still have an open invoice, and maybe we want to create some sort of process that pings someone on Teams, partial payments that we want to send to someone in collections. We can do all of that directly in Claude or our AI platform of choice and create a skill to do that. So the last mile that I'm going to show you is I'm going to take what we just did and I'm going to say, take this latest update and write me a prompt that I can paste in here that will add this feature to my bank reconciliation matcher skill. Okay, and so again, we have this skill, but what we were doing was just kind of going back and forth, and we were making these updates in our chat portal of Claude, and we need to make sure that it's in the skill so that next time we go and run this, we don't have to ask this Claude to do it again. So we can see right here, we have this skill, the prompt, update my bank, and we have the feature behavior. So I'm actually going to just come and I'm going to click this button and I'm going to paste it here. And then I'm going to delete that because we don't need to know. And here we go. It's going to update this bank reconciliation matcher skill. And so let's take a look. It's running the command, it's doing the script. And in just a few moments, we can see it's reading the skill and it will make a change. So the next time we pull in data from our bank statement and our open invoice register, the Excel file that we create will look exactly like this with the new data. Again, we're building skills so that if we have these repeatable processes that we want to keep iterating, keep getting better on, so every time we run them, we don't have to do it manually. We can leverage AI. This bank reconciliation skill will be available on our website, but at this point, you can now build it yourself and improve it yourself. You're now armed with an awesome skill to close the books faster, make life easier in accounts receivable, and spend more time on higher value items throughout the finance stack. And so really excited to show you this. We can see right here, it's going to update the skill into our workspace folder, and we're off to the races. So thank you for watching. That concludes our seminar here. Really excited to see what you build around bank reconciliation. If you come up with anything cool or you need some help, feel free to reach out to someone on the Daylit team. We are happy to help. We're adding new skills and new courses every single week. and best of luck.